Time is approximately forever.
We cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Please continue to hold for the next available representative.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
We appreciate you waiting and waiting. What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Disconnected.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new rendition of the weekly wrap-up. We have a lot to get to tonight. Yet another round of No Kings protests, some Democrats expressing political violence yet again. It's another day that ends in Y. We have to talk about 2025, Jack Ciattarelli getting a monumental endorsement in New Jersey, and then 2026, Democrats in the polling, they're not really headed to even regain the House, even without redistricting that would possibly favor Republicans at this stage in the game. That's how bad it's getting for them. All this talk about Trump and his collapsing approval and everything like that. There's some caveats that it all kind of does tie in that we'll get to. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. Hit that like button. We have to get to 100 before the face cam turns on, that's for sure. Also, we set a goal of 30 super chats, 5 and above tonight. Can we get there? Well, if you guys would like to contribute to the conversation, we will. And again, also, it's important that if you don't want a super chat, feel free to check out the polling GoFundMe. The link will be in the pinned chat because we're doing polls. We want to do polls for New Jersey. We want to do polls for New Jersey and Virginia. And I understand that, you know, these things, they cost money. It costs $3,000 for 2 polls, basically, is what we're aiming for. But if we could kind of go all in on the polling GoFundMe, and we can kind of cover the difference, or maybe we'll only just poll one state. instead of the other. We'll see what we have to do, but in order to make sure that we can get the polling taken care of, if you don't want to super chat, that's fine, but check out the polling GoFundMe as well. Even just a couple dollars. If everybody in chat gave a few bucks, we'd have the polls. We'd have the polls out and done in a week. So feel free to check that out as well. Also, like the stream. We got to get to 100. We have to get our face cam on so we could begin. And we have a lot of people pouring in, even though it's late on a Sunday night. But that's when we love to do it. We love to wrap up the week at the actual tail end of the week. That's how we do the weekly wrap up on this channel. And now the face cam will go on because we hit that threshold and we have to talk about these protests because once again, Democrats, mainly boomer Democrats, I saw a few of these people right outside where I live and they were abysmal. You got these 80-year-old women holding up these signs saying ridiculous slogans, misinterpreting the Bible. They always use the same 3 verses. They don't understand what they mean. Apparently that means because, we'll quote a few Bible verses so you can enforce immigration law. Interesting. I don't see them policing the immigration laws in other countries based on that, but either way, it's heresy. Many cases, when's the last time these people have been inside of a church? Probably never. Maybe when they were 5 years old, maybe during World War II. Was the last time these people set foot in a church or a place of worship. It's all fake. They want to guilt trip people that believe things that they don't believe by misinterpreting what they believe. And then we see how they act. And it's not always the same individuals, but it's a part of the same group of people. And the left is becoming increasingly violent. We saw this not just with the Charlie Kirk assassination or, the first Trump assassination attempt or the second Trump attempt, but we saw this when Democrats were fantasizing at the idea of Donald Trump passing away because he took the weekend off or something. Biden took his entire presidency off, but Trump takes a weekend off. And they lose their mind. They lose their collective minds. They're these blue anon people. They go through the Truth Social post trying to claim and do AI analysis saying they're not written by Trump. And it's like the guy's still alive. He's still alive. He's ending global conflicts. He's still around. What are you going to do? But you have this person who's an elected official. These are not people in a group chat that are just like these Redditors or college kids. No, these are people that act serious. This is the thing. You have Senator Anwar, I believe, Saud, I don't know how you pronounce that name, but he's from Pakistan. He's from another nation, comes to this nation, and then wishes and cheers on the death of the president of the nation that he supposedly loves. That's what they say. They say these people, they enter as always an act of love, and you can't oppose it under any circumstances. That's like, this is the problem. And it's not just illegal immigration. That's kind of something people need to understand. Illegal immigration gave us Saud Anwar and Mehdi Hassan and all these people, Zoran Mamandi. It's not just illegal immigration. It's a problem. I'm not trying to take away from the problem. We've already kind of covered how ridiculous the fact that Democrats are pro-illegal immigration is already in this stream. But the legal immigration system can fail us and let people in this country from all over the globe that despise this country, despise the leaders that are trying to save it. That's what you have here. That's one takeaway. But the other takeaway is this guy's a sitting government official and a doctor. The people in the medical industry are cheering on for Donald Trump to essentially die of a heart attack. That is uncalled for, especially in this time, and any time. It doesn't matter what time it is. But you understand that your side is a microscope on you. We're turning the tables, and you're still doing it because you can't control your bloodlust, Saud. You can't control it. And this is what you do. And you're a state senator. You are a person in power. This isn't even, Jay Jones has been in power. I think he's out of power now, but he's trying to get back into power. And then this guy's in power, and he's calling for Donald Trump to die. Maybe you could say, it's not, it doesn't matter. Death is death. Just because you're calling it for it to be health-related doesn't change what you're doing here. We know what you're doing here. It's essentially a call to violence. It's exactly what it is. Cheering it on, it's unacceptable. holding a sign, doing it publicly especially. I mean, I'm glad it's public because it's out in the open, but this is who the Democrats are. This is not, a party that you could just shake hands and go home. These are not people that care about this country. Everything we've said and been scoffed at by some of these so-called right-wingers. We'll get to them in a minute because we could go on a long-winded rant about the weaklings on the right. But I don't want to start. It's like you start, you get into it, you get a little bit amped up and worked up, and I'm sure I will. But this is not the only case of this happening, and we're gonna cover that as well. Where you have another case of a Democrat that is calling for violence. You have another protester here that is giving a bullet in the neck gesture to somebody that was wearing, I believe, a Charlie Kirk t-shirt, and they're holding a Mexican flag, a flag of another country, and mocking the death of Charlie Kirk to a fan of Charlie Kirk. This is who you're dealing with. This is the opposition. This is not a fringe minority of their party. This is a big percentage of their party at this stage in the game. This is how they act. We've seen other signs like this. This one, good Nazi equals dead Nazi. People will say, well, we don't like Nazis or whatever. That's not the point here. It's like the midwit take that completely pretends to miss the point. Just like the people that say Antifa's only it only means anti-fascist or whatever. It's the same bullshit. And they're doing it where they will call you a Nazi for being to the right of Mitt Romney. That's what a Nazi is to these people. Even back then, some of them would call Mitt Romney a Nazi. Now they love him for one reason or another because he, does not help the rightful, cause that's going to save the country called MAGA, America First, Donald Trump's movement, the real movement. These are people that will call people that they don't like Nazis and then say that it is okay to kill or the good Nazis are the dead ones, which, are they calling, honestly, it's even with their own logic, it's like, are they calling the actual Nazis good because they're all dead? That's besides the point, but it just shows how moronic that these people are when it comes down to their logic and their sign crafting. But they will call you a Nazi for having opinions that are relatively mainstream, opinions that are common sense, basically common sense. If you don't have common sense, then they won't call you a Nazi. It's kind of funny how this checks out. And then they say it's okay to hurt Nazis, that good Nazis are dead Nazis, whatever. And then they will use that to justify things like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, trying to kill you. And that's, a real big problem that we have with dealing with the modern left. So many of these people, they don't want to sit down and have a conversation. It's not about a conversation. That died with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was trying to do that. I'm not trying to knock him for trying to do that. I think that, doing these events is fine. I know people will continue to do them. I want them to do them. Just be safe while doing them. Proper security, do them indoors, do what you got to do. But the main takeaway is that the lion's share of the left doesn't want to talk. They don't want to talk. They want to just stoke the flame and fire of essentially violence. That's what this is. We've seen multiple cases of it, and it's a pattern. It's a pattern. Now, people, and you look at Jay Jones, you look at how the left reacted en masse to Charlie Kirk and his assassination. It was with glee and celebration. And of course, the politicians would put out these boilerplate statements saying that they condemn all political violence or whatever. But then they won't, unendorse somebody like a Jay Jones, even if it's the politically correct thing for them to do. For one reason or another, they're afraid of their base or they support it or a mix of both. I think it's a mix of both in many cases. And then they'll try to do these false equivalencies because you had Politico this past week release a list of text messages from a group chat of young conservatives, basically leaking the group chat, which again, there were things said in the group chat that were not professional. And if it's like you have a professional group, you don't want to conduct yourself that way. I'm not going to condone everything that was said in the group chat necessarily. But you have stupid people on the right that are pretending like you have to get out there and get in front of it and make a big deal out of a group chat and disavow a group chat that was never meant to be public, that was leaked by somebody, allegedly somebody that I liked, that turns out that he cares more about, advancing his own career than not handing the Democrats a free talking point a month away from an election. Like, seriously. Now, I hope those reports are wrong. I don't know. I don't want to comment on that aspect of it any further. But what I do know, it's like you have these Republicans or so-called conservatives. A lot of them were the DeSimps back in the primary, and they're coming out here and they're saying things like, you must disavow this thing. You must throw these people under the bus. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say I know these people. I don't know these people. I don't really like these people. But you're mad essentially at things that were said, first of all, in jest, relatively ironic, and things that you would find in a Call of Duty sort of lobby type of thing. These are not people that, the politics of these people involved are not even really far right. Like, you have a state senator in Vermont, basically, who's now like cucking and resigning. The whole thing is pathetic on that guy's part. And it's like some of these people, it's like, we need better young people involved, because, as you look at the physiognomy of some of the leaks, it's like, oh, this is brutal. There are legitimate criticisms here and there within that. I'm not denying that. The main point is the left wants your head on a stick, and you're going to try to play into their game of this false equivalency where a group chat equates to all of the political violence and the calls to violence because somebody made a joke about, oh, you're basically going to the rafters. Okay. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, and it's not the same thing, but you continue to engage with their nonsense because maybe you want to be liked by these people. They want your head on a stick too. You're walking on the eggshells. That's the problem. You can't win with these people. You don't need to you don't need to spend time throwing people under the bus for a group chat leak. And if anything, throw the person under the bus who leaked the group chat, who's trying to give the Democrats a talking point victory ahead of the election. I can't stand these people, man. They don't get it. They don't want to win. They want to lose. They want to lose with their bag of principles. It's like the little kid meme, and they're playing around with the Legos. It's like, what are you doing? It's not a matter of condoning what was said. It's a matter of understanding what time it is, what we're up against. This is not, what the other side is doing. They're trying to leverage this as a false equivalency. That's probably why they paid top dollar for this stuff, okay? And anybody who legitimizes that by playing into their hands, you're comparing a dumpster fire to the Palisades fire. A dumpster fire with one flame, and it's a joke fire, a prescribed burn, if you will. A lot of the people involved are not radically, even like radical right people. I'm probably more to the right on policy than a lot of those people that are just saying jokes and trying to be edgy. And it's like I've said this before. I have group chats. I don't act like that. I don't act that unprofessional, even in the group chats I have with my friends. I'm the same person privately as I am publicly. Sometimes that'll get me into some spats publicly, but I'm usually proven correct about a lot of things that I say politically. Just like when I say the left wants your head on a stick, now do you see it? These people were the same people that would say, no, not really, and now it's all out in the open. It's all out in the open. So yes, there does need to be a semblance of unity. That was another thing that people were talking about. Matt Walsh said unity on the right, and then people lashed out at him, talking past each other, not talking to each other, just talking past each other, assuming things, putting words in people's mouth. I think that's gross when people do that because they can't control themselves. They're too emotional. If you're that emotional for politics, maybe don't be involved in politics. I don't know. There is a level of stoicism that it takes to deal with this stuff for sure, especially if you want to be like some, even an armchair analyst, which is exactly what some of these people are. And it's like the bottom line is that I'm not asking you to unite with people that are legitimately evil actors that do nothing but aid and abet the left, which we've talked about, and which I've been a far more effective force at toppling any influence they have than you just absolute clowns have, okay? You guys are insufferable. You're just become, some of them are insufferable, trying to basically be the inverse of the people that I just mentioned. So again, there doesn't need to be any delusion. Not delusion. Well, there is delusion, but dilution of what we stand for and of the fight, because anybody that tries to derail the train, whether they come from the far, fringes of the so-called right, even if they may be spiritual leftists, or they're these neocons that want to die on these hills of principle, they both can get fucked. I won't unite with either of those people, but the people that want to win, if there are some disagreements here and there that we can have in good faith, anybody in good faith that's on the right, I will unite with those people. And that's the message. I think that's what Matt Walsh was trying to get at. Everybody just lashed out at the guy. But, I mean, it's plain and simple. Just like a lot of people would like to put words in people's mouth. Just like this post here, ironically enough, and it came from both the left and even some of those fringe right actors, the people that hate Trump because he's like not, they say he's not far right enough, and they want to elect Gavin Newsom over J.D. Vance for one reason or another. And it's like, main point here, the people at this rally, they don't have any enthusiasm, because think about it. Let's be honest here. Who do the Democrats usually have as their core base? Think 2016 terms here. Young people, black people, Hispanic people, young women. The demographics that usually carry them to victory are nowhere to be found whatsoever when it comes to their protests. And you have a very, I don't know if it's a black majority metro, but it is a black majority city. I believe the metro area is majority minority. It's gotten increasingly Democrat in terms of how it votes. And then you look at the Atlanta No Kings protest. This picture doesn't even do it justice, but it's like 95% white people over the age of 60. And that's the point I make. I say even in Atlanta, it's all old white people. And I had Democrats, liberals, trying to do this cognitive dissonance stuff, saying that I'm like anti-white or something, like they can't look in the mirror. And then you get like the far right people, like the fringe right people that hate Trump and hate me and hate the reasonable, sane nationalist coalition, saying that this is an anti-white post for one reason or another, because apparently they like shilling for people who just despise this country, people who vote for the demographic rapid displacement of the people you claim that I'm being anti here. And it's like, these are the same people that say a traitor is worse than an enemy, therefore they won't vote for J.D. Vance, except they can't articulate to save their lives why Vance is some sort of a traitor. And then they shill for Gavin Newsom. But then when it comes to this, they'll shill for the white liberals over the people that they hate are the white conservatives that are actually doing the work to save this country, just conservatives as a whole. It's not 100% like a racial thing. But the main takeaway that I have is Democrats don't have enthusiasm from the groups that they need to have that enthusiasm from to win. These are very, they don't have that enthusiasm. This doesn't play well with young voters. It doesn't play well with minority voters. That's why Trump gained with those voters, and he also held his own among old white voters. But this is what you have. These are all the people that are going to these things. These are people that are not the future of the country. The Zoomers are the future. The Zoomers are more nationalistic. The Zoomers are more populistic. And there's so many ops out there, including from these people, the whole anti-Israel stuff, the whole Epstein hysteria that they like to throw out there, which was never even talked about even from the left against Trump until very, very recently, because they think they could get a one-up. Every single possible angle, everything that they do, trying to sow discord and division within the right, within a lot of these young people. There's a reason why these people get a pass. They never got a pass. These people went from being debanked for existing to getting puff pieces in the New York Times like they're some sort of influencer that should be taken seriously. That should tell you that the establishment likes this disillusionment. They want to disengage young people, especially young right-wingers, from politics. They want to make people more demoralized, so they send them down these strange pathways that all roads where it leads to is they try to make people justify not taking part in the political process. And I think it's disgusting that that's what they're doing, but they are doing it. And the truth of the matter is that it maybe you don't want to say it's working in and of itself. But the truth is that these people that go to these protests, like, these are the people that show up for these special elections that give the Democrats these massive overperformances. And a lot of it is because you have the old people and they're becoming increasingly Democrat because you have like older Republicans dying out, and then millennials are moving right to replace them. And then, very young voters, like voters 18 to 24 are moving drastically to the right, and there's more gas left in the tank. I mean, Generation Alpha, who knows how they're going to vote at this rate? But they understand that, so they're trying to sow this division, manipulate the discourse, try to throw the movement off track. Why? So they get people to not participate in the electoral process and let the nursing home electorate run the show. I don't want the nursing home electorate to run the show. If you're old and you're conservative, that's good. If you're old and you voted for Trump, that's good. But there's like a segment of old boomer liberals. That's, they want those people having the most power because that's where the enthusiasm is for the Democrats. You have that. Then you have, minority voters, but they're losing minority voters to an extent, especially in the younger generations. So it all stems from the top down. This is the group of people that they, usually end up getting out to the polls. And there's a lot of division they want to sow from just a bunch of different angles. It's not one thing or another thing. They have a lot of different avenues to make sure that people on the right are disengaged and disillusioned with politics, especially in the younger generation, the social media age, so they don't have people getting to the polls. That's all it is. I'm not saying it's going to be effective, but it is true that when you have already a level of disillusionment in this generation, they're trying to exploit that, make it worse, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not letting that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. I don't know who is going to let that happen. Some people might. Some very stupid people might. But we'll talk about 2026 because this is huge. Jack Ciattarelli, well, first of all, we'll talk about 2025. He got the endorsement of the block vote of VAD or VAAD, and this is a group of Orthodox Jews, and they vote as a block. That's typically what they do. The presidential level, they've leaned more Republican, it seems, at least recently. But at the state level, they voted for, or they were instructed to vote for Phil Murphy in 2021 over Jack. Now they're endorsing Jack. Now, the influence that the leaders here have in that community is huge because it's large, and that possibly could sway around 100,000 voters on net. And we're talking about a guy who lost by 84,000 votes in 2021 without their endorsement, and now he has their endorsement. That is a huge development because that could make the difference in this race. If you believed pre this endorsement that it was going to be Mikey Sherrill by 3, well, too bad, because now Jack's winning if this holds up. Now, it is true that some people in VOD were upset at the Murphy endorsement, didn't show up at all last time around in protest, and maybe that's why they endorsed Jack this time. But still, there were a lot of people in that community that voted for Phil Murphy and then turned around and voted for Trump by dictator margins, and now we're going to show up and vote for Jack by dictator margins. Also, these demographics, the Orthodox Jews, they don't tend to answer polling very often, as it seems. It's very difficult to poll this demographic. You want to say it's 1% to 2% of the population in New Jersey. Still hard to poll. They come out for Jack, and it's kind of like what people say about the Amish, except the Amish thing is overstated because very few Amish people vote. Even after the big pushes that we've seen to try and engage the Amish, they still don't show up in meaningful numbers. Like Lancaster County, I think, moved right by like 0.2% in 2024 or something, and a lot of that didn't have to do with the Amish. But Jack does seem to be the type of guy who is picking up endorsements. It's not just the block voting segments of the Orthodox Jewish community in North Jersey, but it's also certain unions that did not endorse him last time or endorsed Murphy are now endorsing him, and then Democrat mayors are endorsing him. Mikey Sherrill's a train wreck. She has a laundry list of scandals. Folks, I'm not saying he's going to win, but does he have a damn good shot to? He absolutely has a damn good shot. Virginia is a bit of a different story. The Attorney General's race there, I think, does go Republican. The other races, not so much. I think those could be upper single digits in favor of the Democrats because, Spanberger, she's outspent her opponent by a ridiculous margin. What do you expect? What do you expect? I mean, it's the way it goes. But 2026 as a whole is a big thing. And I do want to talk about this really quickly because I do want to let you guys know that it's important. And we got another donation on the polling GoFundMe. The link is in the pinned chat. So if you guys want to donate, you could donate. The link will be in the pinned chat in the comments or in the live chat here. But already got another 20. So keep in mind, we're getting closer and closer to our goal. That's important. And again, if we don't hit it, that's fine. But let's make sure we can get as close to it as possible. We're 2% of the way there. Guys, if you want to give $5, it goes a long way because we want to release the numbers to you guys. We nailed Wisconsin earlier this year. We want to do New Jersey. If we have money left over, we'll do Virginia. I don't think we're going to bother much with the New York City election. I think that it's become evident that they're going to embrace the decline. They're going to embrace accelerationism, which involves electing some radical communist type of guy in Zoran Mamandi. That's who's going to be the next mayor of New York City. He's parading around with Hassan Piker, who is an animal abuser now, and says that America deserved 9/11. And this is the guy who is going to be the mayor of New York City, parading around with some guy that says America deserved 9/11. I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, this is 2025, like 24 years. We're seeing that much decline. The guy wants government-run grocery stores. The thing's a mess, and we'll be live streaming the whole thing, the whole election night. But I will tell you guys, make sure you guys check out the GoFundMe. The link will be in the end. We'll check in on it throughout the night as well within the super chats to see if we get any more. But shout out to Janice Harvey for $20. Appreciate it, Janice. Also, the generic ballot polls. This is huge because Democrats, even past this point, which this was from 2 days ago, but in 2017, late 2017, they led by like 12 or 13 points over the Republicans. Well, they ended up winning by close to 9, which was, Republicans were able to make up some ground, pass the tax cuts, you name it, that was going to help them, to an extent. Also, 2021, the Democrats had a slight lead. Republicans, ended up winning. The popular vote was not a very efficient wave, mainly due to Democrat redistricting, which we're trying to mitigate as we speak. And also right now, Trump's in the White House. Democrats claim he's very unpopular. They're begging for a blue wave. Are they winning the polls by 10, 15, 20? No, they're leading it by 1.6% and falling. And you have a government shutdown, and they're getting blamed for it. These people, they actually thought that they could. And it's like, I think a lot of people don't even know the government shut down right now. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't really feel that way, but the government shut down, and the Democrats are nosediving in the polls, and that's with a Republican trifecta. Now, it's true that the Democrats are the only people that voted to shut down the government, and I think people are smart enough now to see that the Schumer shutdown hashtag seems to be relatively effective. It does. And you have Democrats that are up for re-election. I believe John Ossoff this term that voted to shut down the government. So if he's voting to shut down the government, that is not really good news for him because it's another unforced error. He's made some unforced errors. He has made some political layups, like voting for the Lake and Riley Act, because if he didn't do that, I think that he probably would not be favored to win that election, and he still might lose that election. We have a long way to go, especially if the national environment, the national generic ballot ends up being D plus 1.6. So again, guys, I'll leave the fundraiser up on screen as we get to Super Chats, but the Democrats are in a whole lot of trouble. We are 2% of the way to the goal. We're not going to hit the goal on stream for that, I understand, but we got a lot to get to. 7 out of 30 to the Super Chat goal as well. We got 2 goals going, but would much rather focus on the other one for sure. The Video Maker 2341 for 2 says first Super Chat of the night. Also for 5 says it's so funny how doomertard conservatives like Ryan Gerdusky doom over a race by saying just one shitty Democrat-leaning poll. New Jersey's an example with Fox. Yeah, I mean, Ryan's always been a type to doom a little bit unnecessarily. He has a strange selective bias when it comes to certain candidates and polling that he likes to promote versus polling that he doesn't like to promote. Fox News is not a right-leaning pollster. I don't know why people think that it is. You have two people, Beacon and Shaw, that run it. It is a mix of a Democrat and a never-Trump Republican that is running the poll. And we've seen misses at the state level. It's not as bad of a poll nationally, but at the state level, we've seen misses of like 10 points, and it usually overestimates the Democrats. So I'm not worried about the Fox News poll in and of itself because their polling is not that good. Their polling is not all that accurate, and a lot of people don't get that and don't know that, but it's true. So also for 5, the video maker says it's funny how Jack is getting key Democrat endorsements, even those that endorsed Murphy in 21, yet doomers and libs think that Cheryl has the race in the bag. Well, I don't think she has the race in the bag. I think I wouldn't be too surprised if she won. It's a state that voted for Kamala Harris by 6 points, and you have Donald Trump as president in the White House, which means Democrats might be a little bit more motivated. But how much is that going to matter? And it might dictate 2026 to an extent in the whole analysis of it, the whole analysis point, which we're not there yet. And 2026 is not going to be fully representative of how 2025 works because we saw 2022 was not the same environment as 2021. But if anything, Trump is at a lower point. So we will see. Also, the video maker 2341 says the Virginia poll that came out earlier today only polled Virginia for the first time and doesn't have a big history. I expect other polls to tighten. Yeah, I mean, the poll that I saw seemed like a more liberal, biased poll. Kaplan is not a very good pollster. They never have been a very good pollster. So it's not like their poll in and of itself is going to be indicative. I do think that there is going to be a sizable ticket split, especially with Jay Jones. I think he's going to lose possibly by like 5, and I wouldn't be shocked if Spanberger won by 8 or 9. I don't think she's going to win by double digits. I think there's going to be enough conservatives that are angry enough to show up as well, as many liberals are angry. And Virginia does have a high participation rate, and there's a lot of people that vote Republican still down ballot in the state of Virginia, although Spanberger is not a bad fit for a lot of those people, and Sears is not the best fit for a lot of those people, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. So XJ Cherokee Bear for 2 says, George Conway, I'm super, thanks for asking. Jared Kolsensky for 5 says, God bless Israel, I'd rather stand with them than all the trouble. A little bit of racy language there toward the end. But I appreciate the 5 Australian, Jared. Appreciate it. American Nerd 1776 for 2 says, no King's protest equals no intelligence protest. Well, there's another tweet I wanted to bring up about this that's very important because there's this notion that Donald Trump is some unique sort of authoritarian leader for an American president because he happens to use power to get things done. And I think it just makes him effective. It makes him an effective leader, an effective president. It doesn't make him an authoritarian president. In fact, you look at the authoritarian presidents throughout history, or the people that could be labeled as authoritarian, you have Abraham Lincoln. He did a lot. He just went out there, and you talk about civil war in a time of country unity. I don't even know if the average Confederate soldier wanted people of the Union to be killed, and vice versa, as much as the average No King's protest attendee wants, would cheer the death of Trump supporters, because the Civil War largely was regarded, and it's been whitewashed to an extent, but a brother war. You had certain brothers in border states who would go fight for the Union. The other one would fight for the Confederacy based on how they viewed their state. It wasn't, really like a matter of life and death. the left and the way they've been acting, it's like you need to actually, I'm not saying go full FDR. FDR was a full authoritarian. He put people in camps. I mean, are we going to ignore that? The left loves FDR. They revere FDR. This is the same guy who's putting people in camps. I'm not saying do that, but, defying certain things to protect our country, defying certain lower court orders before they get approved in the Supreme Court 20 years later. Oh, he's such an authoritarian president. It's like judicial review's not even in the Constitution. It's a precedent. It's not in the Constitution. Teddy Roosevelt did quite a bit that people would say was borderline unconstitutional, borderline illegal. Doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of people view him as a great president. Andrew Jackson, very consequential. John Adams, especially. I mean, the Alien and Enemies Act of 1798 that Trump wants to use now, that was from the time of Adams. Also, Wilson. We don't really like Woodrow. I don't think anyone likes Woodrow Wilson, but plenty of authoritarian measures that he took. There's plenty of presidents over time, even certain elements of Eisenhower, that were more authoritarian than Trump. But because Trump is not a pussy like George W. Bush, he gets labeled a fascist, even though they did the same thing with Bush. And Bush arguably was more authoritarian than Trump, where it counted with the Patriot Act, with all the wars that he started that were not for the benefit of the United States. It's like Trump is just a good president. He will bend the rules to get things done. He's relatively moderate. He's not even that much of a social conservative. If he was, he probably may not have won the election. But he's an unconventional moderate. He's culturally conservative, and he is a nationalist. He loves America and wants to put America first. Not a dirty word. That's what nationalism is. It sounds scary, but it's really not. It's common sense, actually, and a lot of other countries do it. And he's not afraid to bend those rules. He doesn't break them necessarily, but he will bend them to deliver on what we voted for. He understands what the left does. The left loves to reward their friends, punish their enemies. Because Trump does like 10% of what the left does in that front, that they view him as some they try to look at that and use it to justify labeling him as some like authoritarian, like dictator, because that's how these people are. And then they use that fact to justify a lot of the things we saw and the signs that these No Kings protests, or the gestures they were making, or the celebrations of things like the murder of Charlie Kirk and things of that nature. And it's like, again, there are some more libertarian presidents. Like, you look at Calvin Coolidge. He didn't do much. He's very economically right-wing and socially didn't really rock the boat a lot. But even then, he gave you the strongest immigration restriction in 100 years or since the nation's founding. He was very good for his time. And the times have changed. And his time is now. There's sometimes you need somebody more hands-on who's willing to rock the boat. And there are some times where maybe you don't need somebody to rock the boat and you can have somebody coast or build. There's all types of different presidents throughout history, good or bad, whatever side you're on, wherever you look at from your perspective. The one thing that I know is that Donald Trump is not some out there leader. He is willing to use power to get things done, and that scares the weaklings. It scares them. It sends them into a tailspin. Same people that are awful, that have been wrong about a lot of things, for one, and for two, genuinely hate this country and hate you and your family. And we're not just saying that anymore, and we never were just saying it, but now I think we have enough ample evidence to take a victory lap on that, which I'm not really that happy about, by the way. But that's the state of this country in 2025 that we are dealing with. And I don't think that that's really a good thing. So again, if you guys want to donate to the GoFundMe, the link for the polling will be in the pinned chat there. So we'll get back to the super chats, because I know you guys have a fair amount of them. But it's just like No Kings. It's like, well, it's the same people that want a king in some form. They want the bureaucracy to be the king. They want the Biden administration to be the king. It's not about kings. It's never been about kings. They try to leverage this whole we broke free from Britain. We're gonna break free from Trump. No, you're not. In fact, you're gonna get people that are more authoritarian than Trump in a good way. Wait till Vance comes in 2029. We'll see. Hopefully Vance does such a good job they'll be begging for Trump back. That's what I say about Vance. I don't know. We're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. But, Trump is actually relatively nice to these people, if anything. And I wish he'd be maybe a little bit less. And he's shaping up. He's shaping up. It's Rome wasn't built in a day. People failed to really understand that. Kevin S. for 10 says, please talk about the Proposition 50 redistricting vote in California. Former California Republican governors coming out against it. Well, I don't know how much pull Arnold has. He also endorsed Kamala Harris. So it's like, is it really going to matter a whole lot? I don't know. What I do know is that Proposition 50 does seem to be something that's going to pass. I don't know by what extent it's going to pass, but I think it is going to pass, sadly. But I think we're going to combat it in Florida and plenty of other places. It's going to work out. It's going to work out well. Red Dead Texan says, I saw the No Kings protest in Denton, had a good laugh. Well, it's like they're all old people. Denton especially is a college town. You think that, they have a big Antifa. They can't even get the Antifa out for these things, because even some of their radicals think it's like boomer coded, which it is. It is. It's boomer Democrats. I do not understand. White Democrats in general are a phenomenon that I cannot wrap my head around in 2025. Like they're just it's a mix of naivety, delusional. It's not just about healthcare. You're not getting healthcare with these people either. First of all. Like that's the whole thing. They will call you Nazis and then say, "Oh, we just want to give you health care." So what is that exactly? What are they getting at here? Healthcare for Hitler is going to be their new slogan, or it actually would be not even bad marketing for them if they actually wanted to be honest, because that's how ridiculous they sound. That's how they are. That's how these people operate. So it's just ridiculous. American Nerd 1776 says, hot take, these people in these so-called No Kings protests are most definitely just as, if not more insane and awful than the Westboro Baptist people, and those people protest. These people protested, well, maybe not all the same people, but there was a protest at Charlie Kirk's funeral. I haven't seen anything like that since the Westboro Baptist Church, which, by the way, they're not exactly right-wingers either on anything except for gay issues, which they just happen to be utterly insane people about. But they used to use those people to demonize the right. But they do act like those people. And those people are on many fronts leftists. On many fronts, the Westboro Baptist, I don't know who likes the Westboro Baptist Church unironically. I've never met a single person who likes them unironically. Or ironically, even. American Nerd 1776 for 4 says, should Trump get involved with New Jersey? And I think he's doing fine. People need to understand it's a blue state. If he sends his regards, that's all he needs to do. If he gets too hands-on, then he's going to make it a referendum on him. These states didn't vote for him when you had a really good turnout for him. They're not going to vote for, they're not going to vote for him now. They might vote, New Jersey might vote for Vance in 28, but not quite ready for a referendum on Donald Trump at this stage in the game. Jack is good enough, but that's why Mikey Sherrill wants to make it about Donald Trump. She doesn't want to talk about New Jersey. She wants to talk about Washington, D.C. Well, she should stay there if that's the case. Sam Harrison for 10. Says, sent you an Instagram DM about possibly doing a TPUSA event at my college, Fairfield U, which is a very conservative student body. Hope we can make it happen. Well, I will check my DMs when I get a chance sometime this week. I'll get back with you, but thank you for the super chat, Sam. American Nerd 1776 says, the government feels more efficient shut down. Many people would agree with that. American Nerd 1776 says, to be fair, after Pearl Harbor, a lot of people were okay with what FDR is doing to the Japanese. I'm not saying it's okay, just that the people supported it. Yeah, if you have a lot of people, and it wasn't just the Japanese. He put some Germans in Wisconsin in camps, and I don't know what he did with the Italians, if anything. But like, there is an argument to be made from the logical perspective of it. I'm not saying it was sound. You could say it's emotional or short-sighted. I don't think it was good necessarily, but it's like, oh, he's gonna put the, just surveil. I guess the modern day would be like surveilling people that have been let in from the country that just bombed us is probably not the worst thing in the world. I don't think that's even the worst thing that FDR did. I'm just saying we don't need to go to those lengths to crush the enemy. We don't need to go to those lengths to crush the enemy. It's not necessary. We have enough power at our disposal that we could just use. The left will call you a fascist if Trump governed in the most libertarian fashion. If he governed like Rand Paul, they'd still call him a fascist and want his head on his stick. Like, there's no way you can get around this. You can't get around it. You can't get around these labels. I'm not saying completely lean into them and throw the optics out the window. I'm just saying that, you're not going to win. You can't win with the opposition like that. You can't. It doesn't. These arguments don't stick. Keep using your power. Get things done. The left will sweep it up for the worst actions of the Biden administration that didn't help this country. Well, why not sweep it up for the actions of Trump? Like, the principle game needs to be thrown in the garbage. There are the only principle I care about is winning, because you see what happens when we don't. And not just winning as in winning elections, but winning as in delivering, because we've won a lot of elections and got nothing in return. But it's about winning the battle for the soul of our nation. We have to win. If your principles are designed to facilitate your own defeat, you're not going to win, and the left is going to win, and those are the people that have no principles. But a lot of these clowns will just do everything they can to aid the enemy at every possible turn. It's either they're stupid or they don't understand politics, or they're genuinely a destructive force. Well, either way, they're a destructive force. Either it's destructive stupidity or destructive malice, or in some cases, yes, it is a mix of both. I understand, but let's see. American Nerd 1776 says, imagine the backlash if Bush 43 or someone did what FDR did post 9/11. Well, that's another thing, and you're not entirely wrong. I mean, the left. I mean, it probably would have been above water, because I don't think people understand the political climate. But the number one problem with George W. Bush and 9/11 was, what did he squander his massive mandate on? Because that was his mandate. If you have 90% approval, he could have banned immigration for 30 years. He could have denaturalized people in the process, deported people, mass deportations. You could have had, trade embargoes, trade barriers put in place. You could have had, a foreign policy that builds up America but doesn't start foreign wars all over the place that are just careless and don't even solve the problem at hand. He could have actually delivered and done something. And you had an American pride, an American spirit of patriotism, and even I would go so far to say nationalism that was near capacity. And it was completely squandered on what exactly? What did he squander it on? He squandered it on a tax bill, a surveillance state, and foreign wars that were horrible strategy and did not serve to benefit the United States of America. So, Bush was really an issue, because he could have been that president. So many presidents could have been the good president and were not, even from standards that are on the other side, or from the fence-sitting centrist perspective, and they failed. Bush definitely is somebody that dropped the ball massively, and you can't have that. So let's see. Brandon the anime guy says that is what conservatives and retardicans. That's another word. Haven't heard that one before. Do not get why I cannot stand them or the other side. Well, that's the thing, is because they feed off each other. And I think there's fringe elements of the far right that go into that as well. I think it's becoming more increasing. I mean, there is this like slop renaissance. And I think a lot of it is not even genuine in terms of the interactions that some of these people get. But there's the slop renaissance that's, focused on derailing the movement. And it's not good. It's not. And the problem is all of these people that we talk about and all of these people that we mention are talked about for a reason and arguably talked about at times equally because they all serve the same purpose and they all need to go. The political discourse with a lot of these people on the right that you mentioned on either extreme that happen to be just devoid of any common sense, intelligence, or the actual principle that matters, the actual moral character, the willingness to fight and have grit. That's the thing. People talk about moral character. They'll say Donald Trump doesn't have moral character. And it's like he has the better moral character than 99.9% of people in politics. You're saying that he doesn't because he maybe had sex 15 years ago or 20 years ago, that he doesn't have upstanding moral character? He fights on a daily basis. He gave up everything for his own country. He gave up his lifestyle. He gave up his good graces with the elite so he could save the United States of America. He took a bullet for his country, essentially, and he went out there and he was 1 inch away, not even an inch away from being murdered. And he gets right back out there and that's moral character right there. But because he maybe had sex 20 years ago, he's not a man of moral character. Give me a break. What are these people on the left to sit here and moral grandstand about that sort of thing? Give me a break. But let's see. We have more super chats here. Ash K2 for 10 says, I cannot imagine being so hated that 7 million people protest against me. Trump and GOP are screwed. Rep, you're in a bubble. People are upset. And we're going to see it next month in New Jersey, Virginia, and California. Well, you say I'm in a bubble because people showed up to protest Trump. We haven't seen that before. It's first of all, I don't buy the 7 million figure. I don't. But this is the same logic behind the Kamala Harris honeymoon period sort of thing where they say she's getting rally crowds. And it's a lot of I don't know if the geofencing data is all that accurate, but it did say a lot of the phones were present at, rally after rally after rally. Little suspect. It's a little suspect, but it was all fake in the end. I mean, it really was. And we saw that. So it's people that show up. It's you drive past these people. It's a bunch of old people. These are not your typical Democrat voter. I agree that these are the type of people that show up in these special elections. It's why we lose them. It's not because Donald Trump himself is becoming increasingly unpopular. I don't believe that you could really find if you go to a protest with 100 of these people, I don't even think you could find a single one that legitimately voted for Donald Trump once. Let alone in 2024, let alone all 3 times. These are fringe people. They're clowns. It's a resist lib circus. That's what we're dealing with here. That's not indicative of an election that's taking place in New Jersey. I don't know if we're going to win any of those races. I don't even know if we're going to win the Virginia Attorney General's race. I'm not claiming that we are. I think we probably do because that race's dynamic is a bit different. But this just absolute, and I guess you would call it this incessant dooming from some of you guys. It's not good for anybody. It's not going to help us win. It's not going to help anything. I would say maybe you had, because 7 million, 2% of the population, that's not it. It probably, I would say, I don't even know if you hit 1. I don't even know if you hit 1. If we're going to be completely honest. But I mean, things like this are done to orchestrate Democrat organization. Some of these people are probably paid. Some of these people are probably not paid and show up because they have TDS. These things happen. But BLM protests were far larger. Occupy Wall Street was far larger. That didn't really help the Democrats out ahead of 2010, even though that was a little bit more decentralized. And you could even argue a slight from the left at the Obama administration. In part, one of the very few cases where they deviated. ME for 5 says, I'm staying positive in all areas. Thank you for your continued opinions and positivity. Well, thank you for your continued support. CH Danhauser says, thanks for all the hard work, Rep. Your channel is a must watch. I agree with that, by the way. I think it is. We got almost 225,000 people. We're going to hit 250,000 sometime before the midterms. I'd like to hit 225 before Election Day this time. Trump bringing peace in the Ukraine soon and an end to the shutdown. I would hope so. I mean, we'll see what happens if the ceasefire in Gaza is able to hold up. Seems like there's some conflict. We need another they don't know what the fuck they're doing moment from Trump. Had to say it. You know, he had to say it. It's a quote. It's like what, 12:40 in the morning in the East Coast. We're past that. We're past the watershed for that. Okay, we're past the watershed. We could say a quote. The video maker says Ash K2 had Kamala winning in 24. I don't understand why people do this to themselves. It's just from a genuine perspective, not even from like I want to dunk on somebody or I want to one up. I don't understand why people fixate on, there's a level of paranoia. It's not healthy. It's like maybe because they want to be pleasantly surprised. Maybe it's like you're not making the discourse any better. You're just you're just demoralizing people, and it's not going to help out. I don't know what these people really think they have to contribute if all they're going to do, because there's genuine concern. I don't know if Jack's going to win. I don't know if I could sit here and say he's favored. I think that he's in a much better position than he was in July or August. I'd like to see a big turnout for him. I think that if you want to talk, and by the way, I mean, if you want to talk about crowd sizes, Jack's rallies are decimating the crowd sizes of Mikey Sherrill's. The bottom line is crowd sizes aren't everything. Jack could lose. He'd still have the larger crowd size to the point where this guy's point doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. So we will see. We will see. So feel free to send in super chats. We're not done quite yet. We'd like to go for at least another 10 to 15. Video maker says conservative doomer should join. I don't know if the doomer should join the other side. I think they should just stop dooming, because like joining the other side is not gonna help. Some of these people that are commentators that actively try to subvert the right wing and what the right wing stands for, maybe you could make the case that those people would be better off just being honest with themselves. But and it's like, if you really care about winning that much, and maybe you should go. But no, I'm in terms of this Ash guy. But no, I'm not gonna tell people to join the other side because they happen to have this strange mindset. But I see what you're saying. But largest single day protest in U.S. I don't believe that. More than BLM? That's not, nobody believes this shit. I don't understand why these people repeat these talking points, that it's just not real. You didn't see that. It's 7 million people is enough to be 2 to 3% of the U.S. population. That was not the figure of people that showed up, regardless of what anybody says. So even if they want to say single day, January 6th was one city, but that had like hundreds of thousands of people in D.C. The Million MAGA March had hundreds of thousands of people in D.C. And that's, you could talk about, if we add up all the cities combined, we might get it. It wasn't 7 million. Whether you want to say it was it might have been 1 or 2. It was not 7. So they could do what they want to do about this head count thing, but it's not real. Or it's real, but it's not, whatever. I don't know how they're calculating. You're not going to be able to do that. It's like I saw people in a large city, that is true, that were doing it. It wasn't a lot of them. It was maybe like 5, and I'm sure there was another segment of the city where you had more, but it definitely was not as many people as it's not 2 to 3% of the United States population. That is abysmal in one day showing up. No, J6 said 50. No, it was definitely in the 6-figure range. Maybe not above that, but it was arguably Trump's largest. He in terms of the largest crowds he's had, it was definitely up there. We've seen figures on that. Wildwood, New Jersey, I think twice, or especially one time, he was able to get close to that 6-figure range. I think in Butler, he had like in the 40 or 50K the second time. The inauguration, the first time, was, not the largest inauguration crowd, but still in the 6-figure range for sure. Tech G says most attended the No Kings rally to protest Trump and the Republicans, but I went longer to protest local issues and my city's officials. Well, I mean, people that showed up were showing up to protest Trump. I mean, that is undeniable. But there's, you can't quantify it based on some of these estimates, because you're not going to convince me that 3% of the U.S. population showed up for it. So might have been 1 to 2 million. It's possible. They have them in every town, but it's just like, yeah, it's not. It doesn't matter because the impact is mediocre. Ash K2 for 5 says, I'm not dooming, just realistic and not drinking MAGA Kool-Aid. How many special elections do we need to lose until you admit Trump is a liability? How many more special elections do we need to lose to prove that they don't mean anything? Like that, like seriously. Like that's the thing. Trump is a liability with special elections. It's like we were losing them in the lion's share before he won his election. Problem with these elections is not that Trump is losing support, it's that who's showing up for them. I mean, the problem is it's a bunch of old white Democrats that show up for every single election, the same people that show up for the No Kings protests, but they're not big enough to make an impact. Even if you want to take the 7 million figure at face value, in New Jersey, that might have been maybe a couple 100,000 people. I don't think it was nearly that much, but again, not enough to make a difference. Jewish Singers for 10 says, you skipped my super chat. Well, I apologize about that. Didn't Trafalgar have Sears only down by 3 and the race is tightening? Why don't you think it'll be a 2 to 5% margin? Also, how could Jones only lose by 5? Because down ballot effects, we see a lot of these stories on social media. Doesn't mean they're going to impact the real world electorate. This goes both ways. But it is a big deal, and I think there's going to be a big gap. But if you're that far down ballot, you could make a case that some people just vote straight Democrat, and not all votes, but some votes were cast before the scandal broke. So you have that. Now, as for the governor's race, Trafalgar as a pollster is spotty. Now, if, as the previous super chatter mentioned, MAGA Kool-Aid, I'm not going to say their polls always inaccurate or always fake, but they're usually dead on accurate or they're relatively off. And they're usually off in one direction, and we know which direction that is. It is to the right. Just because it looks better for us doesn't make it true. So there's that. And why don't I think it'll be a 2 to 5% margin? Because I think it would be hard to see Sears outrun Trump in Virginia and also not see Spanberger, as awful of a human being as she is, outrun Kamala Harris. So, yeah. Videomaker says Ash K2 is a stupid dooming Canadian. I don't see the Canadian dollar sign next to his name, so I don't know if that's true. Because usually if we get a super chat in Canadian dollars, we get the C, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've seen that before. So I don't know if he's Canadian, but it wouldn't surprise me in its entirety. Maybe if you count Canada and the UK and France, then you could start to get your millions up, because the amount of protests we saw in these other countries, it's like insane. These people hate Donald Trump that much, And a lot of these places have kings. So they have to change the name. Instead of the no kings, they go no tyrants. It's like you realize you're defeating the point of your own protest. American Nerd 1776 says, I bet that if Dems lose New Jersey and Virginia, but Mamdani wins, they're going to go all in on his policy. Oh, I hope so. I mean, that would be huge. I don't think they're losing Virginia, but I think that if Spanberger underperforms, they lose New Jersey, and I think that's actually the best outcome, by the way, and Mamdani overperforms. Because New Jersey now is probably going to move right. And then you have this lunatic that's going to push people to New Jersey, which is moving right. It's going to move right even faster. And then New York is going to decline. And then some people are going to wake up even more if they possibly can. And even New York itself, as a state gets redder, it's a big problem. But I think that if Spanberger underperforms Kamala Harris, I think that is not really a good sign for her. Or a good sign for the Democrats. If she loses, I think hell's frozen over. I think then you could start to talk about a red wave in 2026. It's like, because all the fundamentals favor Spanberger in that race, except the fact that she's awful and embodies everything wrong with the establishment of the Democrats. But she plays well to those elites in Northern Virginia, and I'm not going to deny that. Videomaker for 2 says your current Virginia Lieutenant Governor prediction. I think that Reed is going to lose by less than Sears, which speaks volumes because he has a scandal of his own, nowhere near the gravity of Jay Jones's scandal, but I think that he'll fall short by like 5 because the Democrats weaker. So again, if you guys want to donate to... Oh, we got another 20 in the GoFundMe. So we're polling New Jersey and Virginia, hopefully 2 to 3% of the way to the goal. If you guys want to donate, the link will be, the GoFundMe link is it's the pin chat. So we've gotten 3 donations during the stream, another anonymous for 20. So appreciate that. So feel free to donate there. Even $5 helps out a lot. American Nerd 1776 for 3 says heard Trump may have found a challenger to Massey. Well, I saw that as well. I think he'll win because all Massey does is obstruct Trump, and people see that now. Like, the challenger's going to have a leg up more so than challengers of years past. Jewish Singers for 2 says non-presidential election year, shouldn't Sears do better? Not necessarily, because you're going to see less turnout from some of the, new Trump voters that helped move the state from a 10-point deficit to like a 6-point deficit. So we'll see. Keith says, sorry, no matter what anyone says, it's being a fact already. It wasn't 7 million, it was 650,000. So no matter saying it over and over again. Well, that's what they do with everything. They will repeat something over and over again. I mean, that's how the Democrats strongman their way in the political arena, where they will repeat the same lie over and over again. They've done it with Donald Trump for, how many times? All their attack lines on Donald Trump represent that. And it's no different saying, there's 7 million boomers that are voting Democrat, and they'll also probably say that these are all Republicans that are doing this, that are leaving the Republican. It's just all fake. It's just the most boomer Democrat coded protest that I think I've ever seen. And they're upset because Trump supports common sense and they don't. So, yeah, black turnout a bit. Well, that says it all. That says, oh yeah, Grok is not always accurate. Trust me, I know. I like correcting Grok when it's wrong. I'm making Grok feel bad about Grok's self. Just because when Grok gets something wrong, you just call out the AI. insult the AI, make the AI feel bad. No, but it wasn't that many people. Patriot 345 says if Spanberger wins by 3 to 5, it's an L for. Absolutely, it's an L for Dems. Jewish Singers for 5 says I actually think Cuomo might not crack 20. I think Sliwa will over. Well, I think he should, because look, Cuomo is also a scumbag, and he's not going to win either. Where if I lived in New York City, I probably would consider voting for Curtis, because Cuomo doesn't really. I don't think Cuomo has a chance, and Curtis is stubborn. He's not getting out of the race. I don't think either one would win a 1v1. And it's like you expect conservatives to rally behind Andrew Cuomo. It's not going to happen either. Like maybe if you pick somebody like, I don't know, if like Malliotakis ran in a 1v1 with Zoran, I think she actually would win. But Cuomo is scandal-plagued that even if Sliwa drops out, a good chunk of his voters probably either stay home or maybe even vote for Zoran. Because the electorate is a bit strange, especially among young voters. It's a bit strange. So seems like we had a microphone issue, but it's fixed now. So we're going to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. So if you guys have any super chats, send them in. If you guys want to donate to the GoFundMe, you guys can do that as well. The link will be in the pinned chat. So if we lose New Jersey by 20,000, it will be set. Well, you're probably going to have some people saying it's foul play, which, I mean, that margin, look, it might be. That being said, I think that's not like we can't say that's the only excuse. We can win this thing. That's already baked into the cake. Like that's the way it is now. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying we don't need to change it. I'm just saying that it was there last time, probably at a much higher level. That if now that's what dictates it is shenanigans, then that's still on us to an extent. It is. Like there's a lot of factors you could look at, but yeah, it's a problem. The Milk Shike for 5 says, how would you factor Republican turnout due to the Charlie Kirk effect in Virginia and New Jersey? Well, I think it helps. I don't know to what extent it helps though. I mean, there's a lot of people that registered to vote right after that happened, which is good. New Jersey in particular, but across the entire country. So we'll take it from here on that front and make sure that we can get people out to vote. But yeah, we gotta vote. Rasmussen doesn't have New Jersey. Well, Rasmussen at the state level overestimated Kamala. I mean, it's not like the poll at the statewide level is some like Republican hyper pollster, even though it does tend to overestimate Trump at the national level. So people who are independent interviewers said a lot of the protests were small. I think they add up in terms of if you have a small town with 1,000 people and then 3 people show up. I mean, that's not nobody. There are people that did show up to these things, but like, where's our equivalent to that? I don't know. People don't do people want to even get involved and do things like that without the fear of the opposition at this stage in the game, given what we've seen recently? I don't know. But still, it wasn't 3% of the population. It was maybe less than 1. Do you think the new 7-1 map in Missouri will be struck down? Probably not. I know they want to put it on the ballot in 26. I don't know if it would even pass to remove it, especially after the Ohio referendum. I guess it depends on how it's worded, but in the meantime, it seems like it's gonna be good. Jewish Singers for 5 says there's 100,000 Orthodox Jews in New Jersey that vote in a block. They're all voting for Jack and are scared of Mom Donnie last time they went for Murphy. Yeah, I'm aware. We covered that earlier, and I don't know if it's going to, because if it was 100,000 people in general, I think that the race would be over because that's a netted 200,000. But even if it's like 20 to 30,000 that actually shift on net, which it will be a lot. It just depends on the turnout you get, depends on stuff like that. But what effect will the rise in support for the Groyper movement have on elections? Well, J.D. Vance will be projected to lose the state of Pakistan with its 0 electoral votes. That's your effect. Let's see. We have 77 million people voted for. Well, it's basic math, which it wasn't that many, unless you're doing a head count and you can prove it. Certain cities had thousands show up. Certain cities had nobody show up. There was not a big showing in Dallas or Fort Worth. DFW, I would be very surprised if you had any more than like the thing is that if you look at it that way, where it's like 3%, you would assume that like DFW is an area which has like 7-8 million people, that you'd have like 100,000 people showing up. That was not even it was like a tenth of that tops probably. If Jack wins, could New York elect a Republican in 26 because of Mamdani? I don't know. That's a tough call. If Trump wasn't in the White House, maybe you could make the case for that, but Trump and the GOP should ignore the no king. Well, yeah, it's more of an easy dunk on the opposition, I feel like, than anything else. They don't really move the needle. They're just like a bunch of people. They always vote. These are not like new people that are like engaging in the process. Like that's the thing. Like Democrats, more lower propensity voters, they're not the ones showing up to these things at all. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We'll wrap it up. We'll go for another minute. One last call for Super Chats. One last call. We'll see. Trump should call him more on, well, I live in a city who has 100,000 people, only 3 to 4. Well, that's the 3%. Depends on where you live, because some places are very, very liberal. San Jose Sharks. Oh yeah, that whole thing. They got mad. They threw a temper tantrum because the San Jose Sharks put something out on the jumbotron about we love ice, which it's like a hockey thing, I guess. Even if it was like meant to be political, it was like a double entendre. They lost their minds and they had to disavow. Like the team had to disavow. It's like this is not 2020 anymore. Like I get it's like the San Francisco Bay Area that's doing this, but it's just embarrassing. Like it's a mainstream position for people to have, and you're drawing attention to it and disavowing something to do with ice at a hockey game that may not have even been related to the political issue. It's ridiculous. Mom Donnie's first name gives off Star Trek vibes. Zoran. It's kind of to his credit. I mean, it's not like his first name is kind of it's kind of cool, kind of catchy. Zoran, but nobody can pronounce his last name to save their lives. But that's the way it is. I've seen gas at 249 even. Nothing below that. But again, I live in Texas, and some people don't live in Texas, and they still have to deal with gas that's high, but it's going down, which is good. So, all right, guys, we'll wrap it up. I will see you guys in the next one, but like the stream before you go, subscribe, hit the bell, check out the fundraiser. I will see you guys in the next one. Video tomorrow, stream next weekend. Red Eagle out.